decisions that have to be made is how are you collecting the money? Are you collecting it all at once or as you go? Or are you taking a portion of the investor's commitment now and calling capital as you need it? You generally don't want to raise a ton of money that you don't have a place to put it. Investors are going to sit still for about 90 or 120 days max before they're going to want their money back if you haven't invested it yet. So we can, sometimes when we write a fund, we'll actually write it so that there's a 90-day lag time before that investor's funds will begin to accrue a return. So they'll actually sit still for that. They'll agree to that, knowing that within 90 days, they expect that money to be invested, and then they start to incur a return. So if you raise too much money and you don't have it you can't deploy it within 90 or 120 days, then you've got a problem, because now you've only bought one property, you raised $5 million and you only placed two. And now you've got $3 million sitting there wanting a return after 90 days and you haven't had a place to put it. And this is when people start making silly decisions with other people's money, because they get desperate for, I got to have a deal, I got to get a deal. And, I'm going to have to give this money back. So they don't necessarily wait for the best deals. So what in reality happens with a fund is, even though you think, oh, I'm just going to raise all this money at once so I can go out and I can buy whatever I want, it doesn't happen that way. You still raise the money one deal at a time as you need it.
What about an evergreen fund?
Well, and that can be a challenge for bookkeeping, okay, because you're going to have, well, for bookkeeping and also for some securities compliance rules. You can't, if you create a fund where people can redeem their interests whenever they want, then you're going to be characterized as an investment company and you're going to have to register as an investment company. And that's a big ordeal. Don't want to do that. So you can't create redeemable interests, and not everybody that you know is going to want to have their funds invested forever. So you can
get out of that. I have a friend who is in an evergreen fund and they cannot get their money out. How does that work?
That's exactly the problem. That is exactly the problem, is how do they get redeemed?
Yeah.
They're stuck in the deal. They could be stuck in the deal until the fund manager decides to close it. And what if they decide to keep it open for 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So, yeah, it's each thing sets up its own challenges. The blind pool funds don't have to register as investment companies because there's an operating company exemption for real estate operating companies. So that's anybody who is in direct control. So as long as the fund is in direct control of the real estate or real estate mortgages, that real estate operating company exemption applies, and they don't have to register as an investment company. But if you were, say, creating a fund to go out and invest in the stock market, or you were creating a fund to go out and acquire startup companies, you could have to register as an investment company. There is another exemption that could apply in those instances, which allows you to have up to 99 investors. And then at that point, once you have 99 investors, then you'd have to register as an investment company.